All right, so I want to welcome you all to today's webinar, Foundations of Online Marketing. If you've been doing online marketing and you feel like it isn't easy, you're not alone. We get it, and it's definitely not easy, but it is an opportunity for you. If you're like most of our customers at Constant Contact, we know you're busy trying to run and grow your business. And I know so many of you out there are wearing a whole bunch of different hats for your company, and you don't have the luxury of time to just sit down and figure it out and keep up with the latest tools. And it's not just the tools. You also need to make sure you have an understanding of the fundamentals of marketing so that you can get the most out of them. And again, that's not easy if you're a business owner by trade and a marketer by necessity. And that's what we want to help you with today, as well as in all of the other remaining sessions this week. As I said, online marketing is such a huge opportunity for you, and that's because people are out there looking. In fact, 33% of people search for local business every day. Now, the businesses that are online do tend to see growth. Nearly half, 48% of small businesses currently selling online generate a majority of their revenue from e-commerce sales. And even though we know that people are looking and businesses are seeing growth, guess what? We surveyed our audience last year, and we found out that 45% of small businesses still unfortunately don't have a website, even with everything that's happened in the last couple of years. So we started asking, what is really holding small businesses back? Well, some of them just don't think that online tools can help them. I actually know a small business owner and probably several that feel this way. Those that are using these online marketing tools don't seem to find them effective. But we really know that the effectiveness comes down to this: the fact that they don't have enough experience with online marketing tools and not enough time to learn them. The good news is that you're here today, and our goal is to help you to make sense of it all. Because once you understand it, you're going to be able to make better decisions on where to spend your most valuable time. And that's why we're hosting this entire webinar series this week, to help businesses focus on the foundations that make your online marketing efforts successful now and in the future. We often hear from small businesses that certain things in their marketing aren't working, or they simply don't know what to do or what steps to take. Today is all about the foundations of online marketing. Our goal here today is to show you how all of the pieces are going to work together, and that's the big point. They work together versus using one over the other. And we're going to be pointing out what you want to pay attention to in order to get real results for your business. Today, you're going to get more of an overview of how everything does work together and those tools you want to have in your arsenal. And then every other day this week, we're going to dive into several of the other topics we're touching briefly on today. Tomorrow is all about the essential elements to an effective website. Wednesday is all about the power of listings and review sites. Thursday is how to win with email marketing. And on Friday is a simple recipe for social media success. And if you're here live, that means you're already registered for all of these sessions. Just click the link in your calendar or your email and you can get into these other sessions as well. With all of that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda and see more specifically what we're going to cover today. We're going to start by talking about how people find your business online. Then we'll talk about how to set yourself up for success, and we're going to talk about 5 foundational tools. And last but not least, we're going to talk about how it all comes together in the end to encourage new and repeat business. With that in mind, let me go ahead and more formally introduce myself as well as my guest speaker for today. My name is Stephanie French, and I'm the content manager for webinars here at Constant Contact. I'm an expert in email and online marketing tools, and I'm excited to introduce Dave Charest, who's joining me in the conversation today. Dave, I'll have you hop on and just say a quick hello.
There I am. Hi, Steph. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm trying to perfect my Zoom wave to everybody because it seems like that's what you have to do when you either enter or exit a call these days. But very excited to be here. Very excited for you all to join us today. And you've heard Steph mention foundations a lot. And really, that's what this is about. We want to give you and have you kick off this year with these foundational elements that are really going to allow you to build on and build upon those things as you progress through the year and get better results for your business. And our plan is to help you with add more items to your list of things that will help you get even deeper into these things so you can start to build on those foundations. But just these alone are going to get you some really great results, and we're looking forward to sharing all of the great things that we have planned for you this week. So thanks for having me, Steph.
Yeah, lots of great information shared. So let's go ahead and dive in. And I'm going to start today by launching a poll. It looks like Rachel is launching that on the screen for us. So the question is, what is the one thing you think is holding back your success with online marketing? Maybe it's you're completely new to online marketing. Maybe you don't have enough time to spend on it. Maybe you feel like you can't afford the tools, or maybe you don't understand how to use data, which is a big important piece of marketing online. So Dave, I don't know if you can see the poll information, but right now I see the majority of people saying they don't have enough time to spend on it.
Yeah, I mean, not a big surprise there. Time and time again, we hear, and we know all of you are doing so much to keep your business running, particularly with all of these obstacles thrown your way with what's going on in the world today, that it's not a surprise that time is one of the most, things that pressing things that keeps people from doing these things. And so our goal is really to, as we go through here today, is to really help you think of some practical ways that you may be able to implement this stuff, or at least understand how it all works together. So that way you know how and where to focus your efforts and focus your time, so you're getting more from it than rather just kind of spinning your wheels as many people often do with the online marketing piece of this. So this is really great. Looks like we've got 71% of people have voted so far, so this is great. Keep those votes coming
awesome.
in.
Yeah. So the next second best answer, or most popular answer, I should say, is a lot of people are saying, I don't understand how to use data. And then the third one is, I am completely new to online marketing. So I think this is a great place to start for any of you who are getting new to online marketing. And even if you've been doing online marketing for a while, it's always good to go back and make sure you've got these foundational elements in place, because sometimes, there's that new and shiny object or strategy or social media tool, and we think we need to go and grab it, and then we kind of abandon some of these foundational pieces that really do stand the test of time. All right, Rachel, I'll have you go ahead and close that, and if you want to share the results for us online or on the screen, and that way our audience can see it. So we ended up with 44% saying, I don't have enough time to spend on it. 28% of you say, I don't understand how to use the data. And 23% of you are completely new to online marketing. So thank you for participating in that. That's really good to know and understand as we progress throughout the week. So let's go ahead and go back to the slides. So let's dive into the first section, which is how people are finding your business online in today's world. I can get my screen to move. So I just want to take a pause and ask, how do you get most of your business today? If you're like most of the businesses we talk to, word of mouth or referrals. And online marketing actually provides you with tons more opportunities to strengthen those relationships and even build new ones, so that you can extend word of mouth and referrals for your business or organization. And as a small business, you have such a huge advantage over big businesses, because you can actually get to know your customers. Many times you're interacting with them in a way that big businesses simply cannot. You're having those one-to-one conversations, email, phone, or they're coming into your store or your organization. It's those relationships that keep your business top of mind and really give you an edge.
Yeah, Steph, if I can just jump in here, right? It's really this idea that you just put up on the screen, right? That business is built on relationships. People love to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And when we think about, and a little bit later in this presentation, we're going to share an approach we call engagement marketing, and that will show you how kind of all of these pieces work together to bring new customers to your door. But either way, the number one thing I just want you to keep in mind as these new tools come out and new things happen, and even though we're talking about online marketing, what we're really talking about here through any of this is engaging with people. And so at the end of the day, if you keep your focus on your customers and those potential customers that you're trying to reach and you're trying to serve with your products and services, you're going to be more successful than anybody who's just running around trying to chase a new tool or a new trick or a new hack, right? And so we're not going to really talk about kind of silver bullets here today, because as far as I'm concerned, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's about these foundational things. Those things don't exist really, right? It's about putting in the work. And if anybody knows small business owners, we know you're not afraid to do that. And so there's just a good rule of thumb to keep in mind as we're talking through things here today. If you wouldn't do it face to face with someone, don't do it online. That's a good golden rule for you there, right? If it makes you feel weird to be doing it and you wouldn't do it face to face with somebody, let that be your guide. And so our goal here is really to offer some guidance to you so you understand what's going on and you know where to invest your time in a way that makes sense for your business. So I just wanted to put that out there, Steph.
Awesome. Great. So I wanted to talk about this. So I said, word of mouth is happening online in today's world. And here are just a few examples. People are asking for referrals. They're looking up reviews. They want to learn, what other people are saying about you. They're sharing content. It might be educational and useful information for a business or a consumer about a product or a service. So they're sharing what we see here in the middle, or as an example of what we see here in the middle. Or, we're just sharing about our favorite brands, what we really love, like our friend Ashley over here on the right, and she's just sharing about her favorite cookie dough. Everybody loves cookies, right? So that just means more and more people are going to see this information. And that also means all of this is going to increase the chances of people recommending you or seeking you out when they need what you offer. So Dave, I'll have you kick us off here, because when we hear about a business through a friend or family member, we might go out and do a search because most of us are probably going to want to learn more about that business. So I'll have you discuss that.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. So yeah, really that's the point here, is that, I mean, just think about your own behavior. If you've heard about something, whether it's face-to-face in a conversation that you're having with a friend or a colleague, whatever the case may be, or you hear about something online, or you see somebody share something and you're like, ooh, I want to learn. Basically, anytime you're looking to learn more about something, what do we do these days? Well, we go to the Google machine, right? The Google machine lets us know, and in particular, I want to talk about one of the two ways that people will typically find your business online. And the first way that people will do that is by somebody making a recommendation. They hear about your business specifically. And so that means they're going to type in the name of your business. And so what this does mean is that, like, okay, you're going to get a search results page, or a SERP as we call it, and we're going to take a look and see what comes up there. And so I think what we have here is an example of, let's just use Constant Contact as an example. So what are the types of things that can come up when you search for a brand name or a specific business such as Constant Contact here? And so as you look on the screen, you can see there's a paid ad at the top, right? So we're actually paying money to have Google put that there for us. There's also off to the right a Google business profile, which you'll notice that takes up a bunch of real estate on the right-hand side of that screen. And this will be very important as we talk about that a little later. And then underneath the ads, what we have are called organic results, which means those are just the things that Google has sent its little spiders out to search the internet and find that they think are going to be most helpful for you in your search or what you're looking for. And that can be things like your website, and it could be other information. If we actually scroll down this page, you see that there are things like reviews that come up. There are things like social media channels that come up. Constant Contact has been around for a while, providing easy to use tools for small businesses, and we have a Wikipedia page, right? So you may not have that, but this gives you kind of like a checklist of things that, like, ooh, if I actually look for my business, and so this is a good task or something to write down and do at some point, is just search for your business name and look at all of those things that come up. And this is a good indicator of the things that you should be concerned about, because most people aren't going to go off to the second page. The big joke out there is, right, where do you hide a dead body on the second page of Google, right? Because no one's looking there. And so this is a good idea to think about. And ultimately, Steph, right, you take it from here, but this is what we're trying to say, is that if you're not there and your business can't, right, what happens?
Prospects can't find you. So you really want to make sure that you can be found, and we're going to show you another scenario here in a minute, and that the information people find out there about you is accurate. So another scenario is that someone doesn't know about your business, but they're looking for a particular product or service. Cheese shop's near me, or it's late at night and you know you need a plumber. In that case, those people are going to search a little bit differently. They're going to use keywords or phrases that are related to what they're looking for in your business. So let's take a look and see what comes up here. Obviously, it looks a little bit different. Here we're seeing some listings with a map and some of the top businesses that are related to that search. These are actually snippets of that Google Business Profile. Another reason why I really want to suggest that those of you with a local presence set up a Google Business Profile. This information shows the business information, the reviews, the type of business, and then also some phone numbers and the location. Just another reason why that Google profile is so important. If we were to scroll down in this example, we're going to see some similar things like the Concord Cheese Shop. It's one of our constant contact customers. We also see some articles about the 10 best cheese shops in different areas, some articles on cheese culture or the world's largest selection of cheese. And those are just the types of things that we can see in this scenario as well. After today, I really want to encourage you to all search for your business in both of these. Search by your business name and by the keywords or phrases that you should be found for. See what you're currently showing up as, and this will help to identify areas that you want to work on as well. Now, a few other things to think about, Dave, I'll let you take it from here once people click into some of those examples.
Yeah, and so really this is where, right, you're essentially telling a story online with all of these different tools that you have or these different locations that you set out to basically tell the story of your business. And so again, as you think about what's going on, you have those two scenarios that we talked about. Somebody's heard about you from someone else or from some other thing, and so they're looking to learn more, or they're looking for something that your business offers. And in both of these scenarios, what people are doing is they're starting to make these they're starting to think and create these ways of thinking about your business based on what they're seeing. And so they're trying to confirm that, oh, yeah, my buddy Sue told me that, this is the best cheese shop that has all of these great things. And so when I go and I look for them, I want to see these, I want it to look like this thing that I've been told about, right? You want that story to kind of match up. And so really, with all of these places and these locations that you have, you're trying to make sure that the information is correct across all of them, that it doesn't have any conflicting information, and that you're answering the potential questions that somebody might have about your business, and that the reviews that they see are meeting the expectations that they would want for a business that they're searching for. And ultimately, even on these social channels, they're looking to see to make sure that you are actually engaging and interacting with people. And so, a couple things you want to think about is, making sure your website is up to date and all that basic information is there. On the screen here, we see, as I mentioned, people want to see that you're engaging. And Steph, maybe you can take this here, but it's really about, are you paying attention?
Yeah, so that means engaging in conversations that happen on social media. We are going to go there with questions or complaints, or just go there to simply engage and get to know your business. And there's also the aspect of reviews, which show up in those search results as well. I'm a big proponent. It's something I personally do every time I'm going to use a business or go to a new restaurant. I'm looking at those reviews. And so what we want to suggest that you do is respond to those reviews, good and bad, because that helps you to engage with those people more as well. Because these people who are searching for you, they're forming opinions about your business and deciding whether or not they want to interact, buy from you, schedule a consultation, or whatever it may be. So with all of this in mind, I want to wrap up this first section. So make sure you set yourself up to be a part of the conversations that are happening online about your business. You want to show up when people go looking, and you want to make it easy for people to spread the word about you. Share social media posts. You want to make it easy for them to engage with you as well. And they're going to have some questions about your business. So ultimately, that means you want to provide answers to the questions they have about your products or services, or when you're open, or how to get in touch with you. So that is a nice segue into the next section, which is how to set yourself up for success. And so we're going to be talking about 5 foundational tools that we want to suggest for you. Dave, I'll have you take it away.
Absolutely. So really, this is where you're thinking about getting started and laying the foundation of the things that you're going to use. And so the number one thing is you want to have a mobile responsive website. And we'll get a little bit deeper into each of these things, but it's about having this website, this hub that's yours, that people can go, that you have control over, that you're able to give people the information that they need. And if you're selling online, you're able to sell things online in that location as well. The second thing to think about is an email tool, and we'll talk about why that's so important. But ultimately, as we've mentioned, or we haven't mentioned yet, we'll be mentioning this tomorrow, but Email marketing is really a big tool that allows you to drive people back to your website, drive people to your social channels. That's really how you can drive a lot of business. And so, and when you think about people visiting your website, well, once they go away, if you haven't captured an email address from them, you really have no way to contact them again, and you're kind of leaving it up to them to come back and see you. So it's another reason why email marketing is so important. Then we talk about a social channel. Now, people use social channels all the time, but really what we want you to do is focus on a primary one, because that gives you the ability to focus and get really good at something, get good at one that really makes sense for your business and where your people are hanging out, without spreading yourself too thin and kind of spinning your wheels and doing a whole bunch of work to get very little in return for it. The other piece is up-to-date business listings. As we mentioned, those are the types of things that can come up in the search when people are looking for your business. And that's true whether or not you've created the listing or not. And then lastly, you really want to have this easy way to create content. And oftentimes we talk about that in the sense of a blog, because this gives you a place to add content to your site, which helps you answer questions and do things on a regular basis that will connect you with the types of things people are looking for. So it helps you with search, and it helps you feed all these other channels, whether it be your email, your website, your social channels, or your listings, whatever it is. All of this stuff needs content to exist, and content really helps you fuel all of that. So those are the 5 tools that we're gonna get a little bit more into today and show you how those all work together.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about website first, and it's not enough to just say you have a website. Your website needs to be mobile responsive, and if you're not sure what that means it's easy to navigate on a phone or a desktop computer, and it's automatically going to adjust based on the device that it's opened on. If someone opens your website on their phone or a tablet and they have to scroll left and right and zoom in and out, that is not a good experience. So I would suggest that you take a look at your own website, see where you land there. On your website, you're going to want to have some essential pages and information that answer the questions that people have about what you offer, and see that you are a business that they like to work with. The website, I want to say, is also your online hub. And that means because all of these other 5 tools that we're talking about here, you should be linking back to them in a lot of cases to your website, so that people can learn more about you, book an appointment, or buy a product from you, or learn more about your organization or your cause. We're not going to dive into the details today, because in tomorrow's session for the website, we're going to talk more specifics about the pages you want to have and what should go on those pages. On that note, I do want to let you know that in tomorrow's session, we're planning to review a few live websites. We'll probably pick 2 or 3. So if you're someone who'd like us to review your website in tomorrow's presentation and get some suggestions back, please send us your website URL in the questions window here, and we'll go through and we'll pick some to go through live tomorrow. So Dave, I'll have you take it from here, but you mentioned it before, is having a form on your website and connecting it to your email marketing.
Yeah, I was getting ahead of myself because I get so excited about email here in these situations. But really, when you think about it, I mean, just recently, near the end of the year, Facebook went down for a while and people were freaking out. And think about that. If that's your only way to connect with people or connect with your customers or communicate with them, you're kind of at the beholden to whatever happens, or beholden to whatever happens on that site and how they dictate that you want to contact or connect with them. And so when you have an email list, that's something that you own. And that's why it's so important. You can take that with you wherever you go. It's yours, you own it. Even if you use a service like Constant Contact, we don't keep your contacts, those are for you. And it just allows you to have that way to get in the inbox. And we talk about it still being amazingly enough, even today in 2022, that email is one of the most effective marketing channels. I mean, I'm sure everybody can raise their hand here and say that they've learned about something or purchased something from an email that they've received, and that's a very powerful tool. And the most recent numbers show that for every $1 spent on email marketing, people get a return of $36 back for that. And so that's pretty awesome. I mentioned the idea that this is an asset that you own. And so when people come to your website, they're probably going to only spend a short amount of time there, unless you've got this really rich content, and at which, if they're still hanging around, they're probably going to want to connect with you. And so if you can get people, when they're visiting your website or connecting with you on social channels, as we'll talk about too, whatever the case may be, if you try to get them on that email list, you're going to be setting yourself up to be able to communicate and drive more business for yourself. And so that's why it's so important.
And when you do get people on your email list, we really want to suggest that you start emailing these people almost immediately, because at this point, they're highly engaged and they've voluntarily given you their information and asked to be contacted. So that's why we suggest automating a welcome series of emails. We're going to suggest 2 emails for you. Email 1 is where you can welcome them to your business, thank them for signing up. And in most cases on your form, I'm going to suggest that you provide something of value in exchange for their email address. A lot of times that's where you're going to include a coupon or an exclusive piece of content on that form. That entices them, that gets their email address in your system. And email 1 is where you can fulfill on that. Then email 2 is where you can really let them know all the different ways they can connect with you. And it's a good idea to encourage them to follow you on your social media channels. Let them know your phone number if that's important to your business, or an email address, or anything along those lines. And then Dave, what do we recommend for email after that welcome series?
Sure. So at the very least, we're going to recommend you send at least once a month, because it's about consistency and it's about keeping people aware of your business and keeping your business top of mind. And the other thing that you're going to want to think about is, is that it's not just about sending a promotion. It's not about just saying, buy this, buy this, buy this. So you want to think of sending a combination of 2 things: promotions, right, which give people those offers, and then also a combination of helpful resources. And so these are things that help people achieve something. It could be like a how-to. You see the example on the screen where it's like how to choose the right frames for your face. All of these things are helpful resources that get people to like, oh yeah, I'd love to know that. It gets them engaged, it gets them clicking, keeps your brand top of mind, and gets them in that realm where like, oh, when you do have an offer, they're more likely to take that up. And so keep that in mind. And we'll talk later in the week when we get into email, we'll talk more specifically about some things you can do. But at the very least, this is how you want to think about it. And this will give you a good foundation to start on.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and, for time's sake, move on to the next tool, which is social media. Like Dave said, we really want to suggest you focus and pick one for primary use, especially if you're just getting started. A lot of times we see people become overwhelmed because they feel like they need to be on every existing social media channel, and then all the other ones that come up like TikTok and Snapchat and whatever might be available tomorrow. Now, what we do want to suggest alongside that is claim your name on all of your channels, claim your business name. And that way, when you are ready to expand, maybe you use this primary channel to learn about what works for your business or organization and what doesn't. And then you can start to take those learnings and apply them to other channels. And your goal here in a lot of cases should be to drive people back to your website. And you can also drive people to get on your email list, because that's just another way. If social media goes down, like Dave was saying, there's a lot of value in that and still being able to contact people. And Dave, I'll have you talk about like, how would we prioritize picking one social media channel that we might want to use?
Sure. So, I often describe social media as kind of this big party where everybody's out there, it's a big social thing, right? It's a whole bunch of everybody. And then as you start to connect with people on these different channels, those people start to be your people, and then you try to move them to your email list, as we were mentioning a little bit earlier, and that becomes kind of like the after party, right? Those are your people. Those are the people that you're going to hang out with and that want to hear from you beyond social. And so the question is, each of these social channels is a little bit different, and so the party is a little bit different on each of these channels, right? And so when you look at them, it's really about matching a couple of things. One, where your audience, where the people that you are, and typically you can't go wrong with Facebook because everybody's there. But it's that and the personality of your business. What makes sense and who are the people that you're trying to reach? And so if you think of Facebook, what you want to keep in mind is that what you're really competing with your business page, or even your personal profile, in many instances, you're competing with people's friends, family, and news that's going on. So people are in that mind frame. And so the types of things that you share there should be things that make sense for what's happening on that particular channel. If we go to LinkedIn, that's more of a professional networking site. And so if you're doing a lot of business to business and doing that type of thing, it may make sense for your business to be more prominent at a site like that. Instagram is highly visual. And so if you have these beautiful product photos, or you can just, you have a very engaging team, or you're the type of person that likes to be in front of the camera, or, taking pictures and doing that type of thing, that might make more sense for you as well. Twitter is really this kind of highly fast-paced kind of news channel type of thing of like what's happening in the world right now. And so that's something to keep in mind when you start to think about what are the types of things that you're going to do there. Pinterest is really kind of like this board of tips, your virtual pin board. And so it's really about sharing tips and ideas. And so if you've got kind of crafty things that may make sense to put information there, that might be a good place for you. And then there's YouTube, which can really be a catch-all for everything. But the idea is that obviously video is the main draw, and you're doing things that are educational to help people figure out how to do something, or you're entertaining them in some way. And so the goal here is, again, to get people from these places to your website and eventually onto your email list so you can start to drive real business results from there. And I just want to give you, I think on the next slide we have here just an example of how one business actually uses multiple channels based on these different types of things that we have going on here. And so on the example here, you'll see on the screen on the left-hand side, these are both from Netflix, and everybody knows Netflix. The post on the left is from LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, what they're doing is they're sharing information, and they have a video here about what it's like to work at the business of Netflix, right, for lack of a better term here. And on the right-hand side, that's a Facebook post, which is geared more towards getting people to watch and watch, in this case, Stranger Things, and they're talking about that show. And so you can really, it's just an interesting way to actually see like, oh, okay, it's the same business, but I'm treating these two channels a little bit differently rather than just posting the same exact thing everywhere. And so you want to think about making those modifications based on what you're doing and the channel.
Great tip. That's really going to help our audience to maximize their success. Now, we often hear from people that they're not sure what to post, or they're posting and they're not feeling like they're getting results. So we like to think about your post or your efforts in social media into 3 buckets. Driving awareness, where you share posts such as what you're offering, when you're changing the menu, or new products or services that are coming out for you. The other bucket is to pay attention to customer service. Many people in today's world will actually search you out on social media when they have questions, or maybe they just want to make sure their problem is heard. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to comments on posts, even private chats, because someone is contacting you, they're asking for help or wanting you to pay attention. So make sure you're out there engaging and answering those questions, and that's going to help you to put your best foot forward. The other piece here is action, and this is where in a lot of cases you're going to drive people back to your website. Maybe you want them to learn more about a new product or service you just launched, or about your nonprofit's cause, or helpful blog posts, or simply ask them to join your email list and show them the value that's on your email list there as well. Let's talk about this next one, which is actually listings and review sites. At the very least, we want to suggest you claim your name on Facebook. On your Facebook page, there's reviews and recommendations there. And then Google Business, as well as the Yelp page. Now, I saw a question, and I believe it was from Jim just a few minutes ago, wanting to know if Google Business is available for nonprofit organizations. Yes, any of you who have any sort of local presence, if you're a nonprofit rescue, a homeless shelter, anything like that. The only place that it doesn't really work is if you're strictly an online business and you don't have a local office or anything. Now, you can use it like if you are a garage door business. My family owns a garage door business. So we've got our Google profile set up as a service area. So all the different areas that we serve in our area. The other thing that you want to think about is choosing other listings and review sites that are important to your industry. They're going to be a little bit different. So what I want to suggest you do is we'll share a link to a guide. It's called Making Sense of Online Marketing. And on that page is a general version, but I want you to scroll down on that page, and there's going to be ones for nonprofit, retail, different types of industries. And if you open that up and go to the review section, there's going to be some suggestions for you in there, as well as a lot of other great information that goes along with everything we're talking about today. Dave, do you want to talk about some tips for using these review sites?
Well, just the big ones here, right at the foundational level, is what we're saying is we really need to make sure that all the information is correct and up to date on each of these sites. And the challenge comes from a lot of times either the sites themselves create these listings based on information that they found online about you, or perhaps a customer really likes your business and is like, oh, I want to talk about them on Yelp, or I want to talk about them on this thing, and they've created that listing. And so you really need to, unfortunately, it creates a little bit of a housekeeping thing where you have to make sure you have to claim these sites as your own so that you can control them. And you want to make sure that that information is up to date and correct, because the last thing you want to do is have conflicting information and have a situation where, right, like a silly thing to think of, but it's happened to me many times where, you know, I'm a big Yelp person. So whenever particularly when it comes to restaurants, and whenever I'm looking for a restaurant, I'm going to go to Yelp, I'm going to try to find something in the area. And I've been burned a bunch of times where I've driven 20 to 30 minutes out of my way to go someplace to eat because it looked great, and the hours were wrong and the place wasn't open. Or I've actually made reservations, which this happened to me just recently, a great way to kick off the new year, where I was standing in the rain with my family getting ready to have a New Year's dinner, and at the place we had reservations for, which was not open at all. So you really need to make sure that you're keeping up to them, just because people are going to use them to try to find you. And it's an opportunity to either have somebody have a great experience with you or have a really bad one. And so the choice is yours on that thing, but I know where I'd go. So, and the other thing to just mention on these things too is just I know some people are sending in questions about reviews and those types of things, and it's important to respond to both good and bad reviews in these situations. The reason you want to do that is, again, as people are confirming the story that they're learning about your business, they're going to these places, and aside from just the person leaving the negative review, oftentimes they just want to be heard, and you can turn them around by responding to them in a professional manner and trying to handle the problem. Or sometimes people are crazy, and right, like, let's just be upfront about that. But those crazy people, if they see the business trying to handle it in a professional manner, they can actually decipher whether someone's kind of being irresponsible or just kind of out of the gate, right? And so you should always respond to them both good or bad, because it shows that you care and that you're listening to your customers, and that's what people ultimately want to see. So that's what I'll add for the listings and reviews section for now.
Awesome. Well, let's move on to the last tool. The last tool is content. Content is what people search for and they consume and share it online. So when people are searching for those different questions or keywords, if you have information that you've written on your blog about that, you can start to direct people to your website. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the content in a blog, Dave?
Sure. So again, we mentioned this idea of really answering people's questions, and ultimately at the end of the day, that's what search engines are all about, are people looking for answers to their questions. And so your industry, your customers probably more than anybody else does. And so the best thing that you could do, at least to get started without getting too technical and without getting too crazy, is make sure that your address is right for people doing those near me type of searches and those types of things, but also create content that answers these questions that you're getting from customers all the time, because it's likely that they're searching for that. And so if you can do those things, you'll set yourself up in a good way. I often say, you want to write for SEO, because Google is looking for things that give people the best answer, and they're humans that are looking for the answer. And then you're just tweaking for SEO to make sure certain things are in the right places. And so that's just something to think about, and where you can get started with this, that'll put you in a good place. Because again, if somebody comes to your site, they're looking to get those questions answered, and if you can deliver that to them, you're going to be in a much better place. Particularly as people, if they find those resources valuable, that will help you in the long run. So think about that.
Awesome, great point. So I think it's always good to have some proper expectations on when we're doing these activities. How do we know it's working? And what are some expectations we should have? And if we're doing all this, how long should it take? I'll have you walk us through it.
So I think it's a better idea to think about, as we're building these things, to think in terms of months versus, I did something today and now I'm going to get all this business from it. And again, it's about all of these kind of pieces working together and telling that story that you're trying to tell. But I think the biggest thing that you can do is not get seduced by what we call vanity metrics, right? So how many people liked it or how many people commented on it. All of these things are leading indicators in terms of like the engagement that you're getting with the content itself, but ultimately they don't put money in your bank account. And so what you're looking to do is get people to take those actions that you want them to take. And so Are they visiting your website? Are they joining your email list? Are they contacting you? Are they buying from you? Are they booking appointments? So make sure you always go beyond those things. And so once you have these foundation things in place, of course, there's the organic perspective. And what I mean by organic is like how people naturally find you without promoting or doing advertising on things like Google or Facebook. And so those things can help amplify what you're doing and kind of give you more fuel to the fire, which I think we'll cover a little bit later here. But from an organic perspective, for all of this to start to work and start making sense and start seeing some relevance, I would think, 6 to 12 months is where you're really going to make that investment to start to really see something happening if you are putting the pieces in and working at it in the right way.
Absolutely. We're talking about a long-term strategy here that is the foundation that will serve you over time versus just doing some of these things. One of them we'll talk about in just a minute that we tend to think of as more of a quick fix to boost our sales and all of that. Well, let's go ahead and quickly recap these 5 foundational tools for your marketing. You want to make sure you have a mobile responsive website, your email marketing tool, social media channels, up-to-date business listings that help you get found, as well as those really valuable reviews for your consumers, and an easy way for you to create content. Now, this next one is about paid ads, and it's a bonus. We suggest it only once you have those 5 foundational tools set up to amplify your efforts, and I'll have you tell us more about this.
Yeah, as I was alluding to a little earlier and throughout this presentation is, social media has really changed from the places that it had started, right? Where they're trying to get lots of users onto the platform and they make promises to like, oh, build a Facebook page and we'll expose it to all the people connected to you and blah, blah, blah. And then that quickly became, oh, well, if you really want to get in front of people, you got to pay us some money. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing because that's how they make money. And hey, we're all for businesses out there making money. But you really want to think about having these foundational elements in place first, because again, all of these start to add up to the story that your business is trying to tell. And if you don't have these foundational elements in place and you start to put money in, you end up wasting that money because it's not supported and backed up by these other foundational elements. And so what we really recommend that you do is you get those foundations in place first, start to see what's working from that perspective, and then use paid ads, whether that with Google or Facebook and Instagram, for example. Use that to add fuel to the things that are already working, because then you'll actually can start to see that like you're not wasting money on something that's like, oh, here's an idea, like you actually know this works, and then you're putting fuel behind that, and then you can actually see like, okay, is this make sense for me to do that? And quite frankly, particularly with Facebook, it's pretty cost effective to be able to get in and start testing and playing around with those things. But again, make sure worry about these other elements first. And this is kind of the icing on top of the cake.
Absolutely. And I just saw a question from Cynthia. Can this be used for fundraising efforts? Everything we've talked about today, including Google and Facebook and Instagram ads, especially in the nonprofit world, make sure you're connecting it to your story and why your cause is so important and what you're really trying to solve for. But yes, absolutely, it can be used for any type of business or nonprofit organization. All right, so let's go ahead and quickly move on to talk about how this all comes together. And Dave, you're going to tell us about that engagement marketing cycle that you briefly talked about earlier.
Absolutely. So this is really how you start to increase the word of mouth with your business. And you've got all these locations that we've talked about, everything's set up, somebody does a search or somebody mentions you, whatever the case may be. So that means a new prospect ends up finding you somehow in one of these locations. And whatever that location is, what your goal is to really provide them with a great experience. We call it a wow experience. And if you can do that, they're having a good time, they're feeling great about your business, this is the perfect time to entice them to connect with you. And that can be on your social channels, that can be on the particular platform that you're on, but ultimately we would prefer that be an email address, because that way you have control of that contact list. And then when you're connecting with them in these places, it's really about engaging with them. You keep engaged with them, you keep your business top of mind, so that when either they're looking for the thing that you offer or somebody else is looking for the thing that you offer, you come to mind and they'll think about either going to you or recommending you. And that brings people back to your store or your website or whatever the case may be. Now, through all of these engagements that you're having, what you're really doing is creating some social visibility for yourself, because as people engage with the content that you're sharing on these channels, their people who are connected to them, who are probably likely a lot like them and make good candidates or prospects for your business as well, are going to start to see those engagements, get exposed to your brand, and that ends up bringing more people to your door. And so this is kind of how this engagement marketing cycle works. It's all about just creating these great experiences for people and connecting with them again and again, and getting your business exposed to more and more people through both in-person word of mouth and, of course, online word of mouth is what we're talking about here.
Great information. Now let's go ahead and recap. Here are some things you can do to take action after we close out today. We've talked all about the cycle and all of those different tools, but I just want to put it fresh in your mind. Make sure you have a website, a mobile responsive website, and it should be used as a resource for your potential customers, clients, or even if you're in the nonprofit world, all of your volunteers and donors and supporters. On that website, make sure you have an email form that captures their email address. That gives you the ability to influence them via email later on. And with email marketing, remember, it's all about providing valuable, helpful information, and then also include those promotional things as well. On social media, it's all about interacting with people. Remember, it is social. You want to drive awareness of your business organization, pay attention to the questions or even complaints that people have about you and respond, and make sure you're creating posts that drive action, driving them to your website, a blog post with valuable information, or signing up to your email list. Make sure you've got those listings and review sites, you've claimed your name on those sites, and you're engaging with reviews, because engaging with those reviews really helps you to build trust. And I want to point out, you know, with the world and the state that it is in the last 2 years, we are open, we are closed, our hours are changing and everything. So you want to make sure that your information is updated, so your customers aren't like Dave, who are trying to go to your restaurant or your business and you're not even open. And then make sure you're creating helpful content. Content is what helps you to get found online, and it helps you to create content for your audience. Someone asked earlier if it was even worth doing content on a blog. People aren't going to be sitting there waiting to read your blog, but blog fuels your search, helping you to get found in search if you have a blog post answering a question that someone is putting out there about you. And content also helps to fuel these other areas. You need something to post on social media or in your email campaign. There you go, take a blog post and provide that value to those people who are following you or are on your email list. And then last but not least is amplifying your efforts with paid ads. Really, we want to suggest you have those 5 foundational tools in place first, and that helps you to add a little fuel to the fire. Think about Google ads to help you get found in search, and then also social media ads through Facebook and Instagram as well. Facebook is actually a really great place to start if you've never run an ad before. So Dave, anything else you want to recap before we get to the Q&A?
Yeah, so just, you know, everything that we talked about here is really just showing how online marketing works and how people are using it and how your business can be part of those conversations that people are having. And really it starts with being there when people go looking, again, whether that's for your business specifically or something that your business or offers, or if they're asking for recommendations or whatever the case may be. And so as people are finding you, you want to make sure that you're answering the questions that they may have and that those answers are consistent throughout the locations that they may find them. And then lastly, really engage to stay top of mind with people, because if you can do that, that's when you're going to find people turning to you when they actually do need the thing that that your business offers. So that's what I would say to just kind of wrap up everything that we talked about here today.
Awesome. Well, before we get to the questions, I want to let you know Constant Contact has so many great tools to help you with your business or organization: websites, online stores, email, social media, and even paid ads. So if you don't already have an account, you can sign up for a free trial. Just go to constantcontact.com or click the link that we'll share in the chat window. And when we close out the webinar today, or when you leave, a survey is going to pop up on your screen. And Dave and I would really love it if you take just a minute or two to answer 2 simple questions and let us know what you thought about the webinar today. And I want to remind everyone about tomorrow's session. It's the next one in this series. Someone asked when the series is running. It's running every business day this week, so Monday through Friday. Tomorrow's session is all about the essential elements for an effective website. And if you're here live, that means you're already registered. So all you need to do is click on the link in your email or in your calendar. So let's get to all these great questions that are coming in, Dave. I've seen some really great ones.
Awesome.
So someone wants to know, how do you claim your name on social media channels? Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So it depends on whether you're just using a regular social media channel or you're using one of these listings and review sites. So typically the social media channels, so if we're talking about Facebook or we're talking about Twitter or we're talking about something like that, or Instagram for that matter, those are typically things that you have to sign up. You're going to create an account and you're going to be the person that drives that. Oftentimes and so claiming it is really more about creating the account. On the review sites, though, or listing sites, oftentimes those listings are scraped by the business that runs the listing. So they're looking if they're looking for websites, they're looking for directory, they're looking for other places to pull in that information. So they may be pulling it from somebody else or someplace else, or somebody else may have created that listing for you. And so, for you is like, I use that loosely, but they're creating it because they want to talk about your business. And so in those instances, you may, and the easiest thing you can do is go to like a Yelp, for example, search for your business, and it comes up usually on the right-hand side. And we'll talk about this more later in the week when we get to the listings and reviews session. But usually there's a button there that says claim this business. The same with Google Business Profiles. And depending, it varies from place to place, but ultimately you just have to answer a few questions to prove that you are the owner of this business. And then what happens is you get control of that listing. And once you have control of that listing, you can update the information, you can change the hours, you can add content, you can respond to reviews. It allows you to do all of those things that you wouldn't have been able to do if it was unclaimed. And I will say, there are many times I go, again, Yelp is my go-to typically, and every time I find the unclaimed, a little bit of me dies inside. So make sure you're claiming those places so you can take advantage of what tools that they have to offer you.
Awesome. So Lisa asks, when we get to this point in the presentation, could you address how to break through to customers and prospects' email systems? Many online tools are auto blacklisted. So I think this is just in regards to email marketing. So through Constant Contact, we have one of the best deliverability rates in the industry, and I think it's 97% is the deliverability rate that we're able to get to. If you're using Constant Contact already for that and you're not sure what's causing that, sometimes it's government. If you're sending to people in the government, sometimes that can be a problem. But we do have an entire team of people dedicated to delivery issues. Plus, we've got some FAQs. I know we've got several people helping behind the scenes. So I'm wondering if you could post some of that information on how to get in touch with that team, and maybe an FAQ on blacklisting and things like that that might help Lisa out.
Yeah,
but really,
sorry. I was going to say, one other thing I'll add there, Steph, is that I think the biggest thing that you can think about doing in terms of just deliverability and how people engage with the emails that you do send is Lisa, make sure that you're getting permission from people. This is what makes email marketing so powerful. Don't just add people to your marketing list. Make sure that they're actually saying, yeah, I want to be on that marketing list. And so they're entering the information and not just you doing it behind the scenes. And so if you can do that, you're going to have people looking forward to receiving your emails and engaging with them a little bit differently, which as people engage with your emails more helps your overall deliverability as well. And so that's just something to keep in mind.
Awesome. So Suma asks, does it make sense to pay for Google Ads? You want to start there?
Yeah, so I mean, I hope at this point we've made the answer to that pretty clear, is that it can, but not until you actually get those foundational elements in place. Because again, you're telling a story, and if all the pieces aren't there to tell the story correctly, they're not going to be as effective for you. And so yes, it may make sense to pay for Google Ads. There's lots to look into that we're not going to unpack right now, just in terms of what the costs are and those types of things, and if it makes sense for your business and how competitive the keywords are that you might be looking for. But the short answer is, you have the foundational things in place, your business is working and running well, then yes, any paid thing can add fuel to that fire.
And especially the website, that is one foundational thing for Google Ads. You want to make sure that you've got in place and you've got it pretty well optimized, because Google still kind of has its own algorithm on who it's going to display those ads to, and it's going to make sure all that information looks correct, and it's going to look at things and making sure they're driving people to the best websites. So keep that in mind. So Veronica asks or says, Constant Contact is a web-based business and I'm also an internationally available consultant. So how does Google My Business work best if you don't have or want a brick and mortar location? So I will start here, Dave, but Google Business Profile, formerly known as Google My Business, I'll make that note right there, but they want to make sure you do have some sort of local presence. If you are just operating online, you probably don't want to have that, but maybe if you're operating online, but you only want to service a certain area that's local to you, then you can use that service area set up within the Google Business Profile. That's what we do for our garage door business, is use this service setting versus having people come to an actual location. Do you have anything you want to add there, Dave?
I think you hit it pretty well. I think it's just really then looking at your unique situation and saying, okay, maybe the Google Business Profile isn't right for my particular business, but then what are the things that then make sense for you to go after and really attack? And that's where I would start to look for that.
Good point. So Tammy says the previous office manager joined just about every social media platform out there and then ignored them. Uh-oh. Do you recommend I deactivate some of them? What do you say?
So I guess I would say, we mentioned this idea of claiming the channels. If you already have these channels, you don't necessarily have to be active on all of them. And so what I might do is make sure that you have it. So if you ever decide to use it more frequently, that you can do that because you already have the channel. But what I might do is, you could recommend putting up, a message either in the profile settings or point them to a link that you are using and put up maybe some content to just let people know that, like, hey, if you want to connect with us, here's the social channel we recommend that you come and connect with us on. That way you can drive people to where it is that you're, still monitor them, but you don't have to feed the beast, so to speak. And so that's what I would recommend doing, is keep them because you already have them. And at some point you may want to use them, but just look for ways to drive people to the channels that you really want to focus on. So that, again, so many people try to do everything on so many different social channels that they don't really end up getting a lot of results. And if you can really focus and get really good at one and know how to work that thing and you know what it's going to do for you, then it's time to kind of open it up and try something different or try something new on other channels. And so that's how I would think about that.
Don't spread yourself too thin. I totally agree. So Jenna has an interesting question. I have one bad review under my business. Would that hurt me when people are looking for me? And I'll start off with this one, Dave, but really no. One bad review is not going to hurt you, and bad reviews unfortunately do happen. Sometimes they're warranted and something didn't go right with the service call or the purchase or whatever, and sometimes it's just that one crazy person. But me, especially when I'm looking at businesses, I get a little leery when I see someone has 230 reviews and they're all 5 stars. Did they go in and fake something there? Did they ask all 230 of their close friends to go in and leave them a positive review? I feel like I'm not going to get the most accurate information there. And there was a stat, I can't remember exactly what the stat said, but usually between 3 to 5 stars, that's what people are looking for. They're not going to be totally distracted by that one bad review.
Yeah, and I would just add to that stuff. I think the one thing to think about here is please make sure that you've responded to that bad review and you've tried to show that you tried to rectify whatever the situation was, because that's what people are really looking for at the end of the day. And to be fair, I've actually heard of people going through and, a business has rectified a situation that they were looking to get solved, and they've gone back and updated their review to be more reflective of the service that they received after that. So that's how I would think about that as well.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity to try to correct that. So Latina asks, do Googlers trust and click on the paid placements, or do they trust the organic search placements? Do you have any insight on this?
Yeah, so I would say this, that I'm a bit of a nerd, and so I'm always looking for, let's look at the organic placements, because, well, a couple of things, right? One, I know that it's going to save the business some money, particularly if it's a small business that I'm looking for. But two, I also just like to see like, hey, from a marketing perspective, are these guys doing it right? Right? Have these people come in and they, get their website up there on the top of the listings on whatever that thing I'm looking for? And so I often like to look at those because I know there's been some effort put in to have that happen. But that said, I mean, Steph, you and I are in marketing, and I bet I could go ask my wife right now, who is not in marketing, and she probably doesn't even know that's an ad at the top of the thing, right? And so ultimately what's happening is the ad at the top, if it's enough to entice them to click through, it's what happens after the click that's really important. And are you giving those people the information, and are they getting what they need to be able to take that next step with you? And I think that's ultimately what's important. And so to answer your question specifically, I think they do if the story comes together and makes sense.
Yep, if it looks like it's going to answer their question based off of the little snippet of information in your website info, that's something I would definitely click into. So this next one is from Michael. He asks, what review locations names besides Yelp do you suggest? So I'll start here, but you've got Facebook because you've got those reviews and recommendations, Google Business Profile or Google My Business, what it was formerly called, and then Yelp. So beyond that, think about what your actual business is. Are you a restaurant? Are you in the nonprofit world? Are you in retail? And there's going to be some other things that are specific to that. Like restaurants, there's OpenTable, and what are some of the other ones? Maybe you
Well,
can add that.
there are things like, there are things like TripAdvisor for people kind of looking for new locations to go to. There are obviously for people in real estate, there are places, like Houzz and things like that. And so really, yeah, it's really about thinking about what your industry is and then what are the places that make sense for you. And again, I think one of the best things that you can do is go to Google and search for, again, the things that your business should be found for, and search for the name of your business and see what comes up. And oftentimes that'll give you a little checklist of like, oh, these are places I need to be concerned with, and these are the places that I should think about first.
Awesome. Let's try to do one more question here. This one is from Victoria. How do we best handle having more than one social media channel? Our customer base spans a wide demographic.
So I'll say here, I think it's all about being specific, and I think it's all about understanding what you're going to do. And so you're probably going to be a business that is living in the calendar, really, right? Having yourself set up with like, okay, these are the people that we're talking to, these are the people that we're serving, and these are the ways we're going to do that on each of these different channels. And then it's really about creating a content calendar that allows you to put those things in the right places at the right time. So you have that kind of organized and ready to go, and you got to create a bit of a process with that so you can do it in the most effective manner. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in our social media session later in the week, a plug for that, we do talk about kind of like the 15-minute plan, but I think we also provide a spreadsheet for people, right, to use to help create their own social calendar.
Yep, we've got a really great
Awesome.
handout that you can take and print, and you can write on it to really plan out what you're looking to post and when. If you are planning to use multiple social media channels, maybe just take that plan, pick one theme for the post for the day, let's say, and then you can take it and modify the post for each individual channel. So like Instagram is very visual heavy, and then LinkedIn needs to be modified for that more business audience, depending on where you're at.
We made it all the way to the end, Steph, before the dog started barking. So congrats.
Yeah. He does say hello. All right, so I see we're out of time. Dave, I want to thank you so much for being here and providing all this great insight for our audience. And all of you in the audience, thank you so much for sending in your questions and participating. Again, be sure to join us tomorrow and throughout the week. As a reminder, we will be sending out an email at the end of the week that has a link to all of the recordings and resources for the session. So thank you all so much again for joining our webinar, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.